Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Scarbo here, speaking to you from the very warm Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. We're going to look at the astrology of the upcoming week, starting with Sunday, July 17th, and moving to the 23rd. So Sunday to Saturday. And I realize that it's Monday and some of the stuff has already happened, but I think it's definitely worth looking from Sunday because there were quite a few interesting things that happened on Sunday. So let's get started as I share my screen with you guys. Okay, so this is, this is where we're starting. And let's get started. All right, here we go. So we are looking at the astrology from July 17th to July 23rd. And I usually put some pictures that sort of symbolize the energy of the week. We have this symbol for Cancer. We have Leo here. We have the beautiful sun shining on the fields. And we also have the planet Pluto. So we know that there's going to be some Plutonic things happening this week. So Sunday, July 17th, 2022, we had a beautiful trine between Mercury and Neptune. Mercury, the planet of the mind, Neptune, the planet of source energy, oneness. Neptune is very idealistic, a little utopian actually, and tends towards the utopian, but we can also fool ourselves with Neptune. So we do have to be careful. Although this is a lovely energy, I have it in my own chart. It makes you extraordinarily sensitive and psychic and hopeful, I would say. We also, on the same day, have Ceres, the goddess of the grain, opposing Pluto, the god of the underworld. We're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail in the next slide, because I think it's important. There's an important, something is important has come to fruition from this cycle of Ceres and Pluto. We also have the sun make a trine to Neptune. This is also a beautiful energy. Again, as with the trine to Mercury, it's sort of the same idea, except that the sun is our life purpose, the integrative principle, the sort of focus of our lives. And so with Neptune trining there, we can dream big dreams. Now, whether we can actually manifest those dreams will take a lot of effort, but to be inspired to dream the dream, certainly this is a good aspect. And we also have Venus, the planet of love, moving into Cancer. And those things all happen in that order. We have Mercury trine Neptune, we have Ceres opposed Pluto, we have the sun trine Neptune, and then Venus moves into Cancer. Now, Venus, of course, is at 1 degree of Cancer. And this chart that's here next to these words is actually the ingress. We have Venus actually at 2959, which is actually 0 degrees of Cancer. Here, and we see that when a planet ingresses into Cancer, the dispositor of that planet is the moon. And so I always look to see where the ruler of Cancer might be, and we have her at the moon at 25 degrees of Pisces. So Venus was 0 degrees of Cancer. Every time a planet moves into that 0 degree of Cancer, this is the symbol associated with the Sabian symbol. We do have to remember that the 0 degrees of Cancer, the first day of summer, is a world point, and a very powerful world point because it's on the cardinal cross. There's always change when the cardinal cross gets activated. There's always an initiation. We're initiated into something new. So this is maybe something that we're not familiar with, and it can be a little bit, scary at times. But Venus is the planet of love and the planet of what we value, what's important to us. Relationship is important to us. Other people are important to us. Our things can be important to us with Venus. And whatever it is that you value is important to you. Some people value their relationships. Some people value their books. Some people value their money. That's Venus. So we have 1 degree of Cancer. On a ship, sailors lower an old flag and raise a new one. A radical change of allegiance externalized in a symbolic act, a point of no return. So we have that energy of initiating something, and once something's initiated, it's initiated. And so there is a point of no return with all of the cardinal signs. It says here, the moon at 26 degrees of Pisces says, watching a very thin moon crescent appearing at sunset, different people realize that the time has come to go ahead with their different projects. That end of the day sort of crescent moon that hangs in the evening sky is the first sliver of the moon that we see during a synodic cycle. So we're past the period of the new phase where we've gone out and done all the new things and the new experiences. And when we move into crescent, we see sort of what needs to get done and what we need to plan for and what we need to work towards manifestation. And so we have this symbol is especially potent. And when we're dealing with Venus and we're dealing with the moon, we're also dealing with the feminine, right? And women. And so womanly things is going to be front and center. And of course, womanly things are front and center, at least here in the United States, for sure, and other places as well. I can't help but notice that whenever you see people suffering because of drought or war or other reasons, it's usually women. It's usually women. All those babushkas in the Ukraine, all the young mothers in Africa, all the girls in Afghanistan. When things are not equal and right, and we don't move in the direction of peace and harmony, it's the women that suffer. Men suffer too, so it's not just women. I understand that. But it's always the women and children that may take the brunt of men's stupidity, honestly, or leaders' stupidity. You don't have to be necessarily a man, but you know, the feminine is rising, and for good reason. It's time for us to find our voices as women. And here in the United States, we just had a constitutional right taken away from us, and nobody's happy about that. Oh, a few people who are crazy and deluded, who think that all the children are going to be taken care of, even if it's child of rape, when there are plenty of children out there that are children of rape or children of love who aren't taken care of. So reality check, ladies and gentlemen, reality check. Okay, I'll try to stay off that subject. So let's look at this Pluto and Ceres opposition that we have today on the 17th. So in 2006, Pluto was demoted from a planet to a minor planet or a dwarf planet. At the same time, Ceres, which had been categorized as an asteroid, was given a promotion to dwarf planet or minor planet. This is the first time since Pluto's discovery that Pluto and Ceres have been on the same sort of level, so to speak, at least as the scientists see it. And Pluto and Ceres has a very interesting story behind them because, you know, Pluto was an Olympian. He was the lord of the underworld. And Ceres was his sister, and she was the goddess of the grain. And one day, Ceres' daughter Persephone was collecting flowers, and her uncle took a shine to her and abducted her and brought her down to hell. And as the story goes, Ceres was so grief-stricken at the loss of her daughter that things started to die. All the grain started to die, and Zeus had to intercede because all of his people were suffering famine. And we have famine right now, if you're not aware of that, in Africa and probably other places as well, probably Afghanistan as well. And who knows, in countries that we don't hear about, there could be famine. I'm sure there's famine in North Korea. There's probably some famine going on in China. There's a lot of people in China. We don't know what's going on there all the time. But there is this sort of theme of famine. Ceres is also, the symbol for Ceres is a sickle, And a sickle has a sense of reaping what you've sown, right? What seeds have you sown and now you reap them? So you can take that to the bank as well. What seeds have you sown? What seeds has, say, the ex-president of the United States sown? What seeds have, any of these people sown? If you have sown good seeds, you will reap the benefits of those and reap the rewards. If you have sown bad seeds, then you will reap the rewards of that. So this series takes, I think, 4 years to go around the sun. It sits between Mars and Jupiter in the asteroid belts. It takes about 4 years, 4 or 5 years, I think, to go around the sun. And so an opposition is the halfway point of a cycle between two planets, the synodic cycle. And the conjunction of these two planets occurred in 2020, actually on January 13th of 2020. If that sounds somewhat familiar to you, on January 12th of 2020, Saturn and Pluto made their conjunction for the first time since 1982. And it was only one conjunction between Saturn and Pluto. And that's always a transformation of power, transformation of the power structures. The last time they came together in 1982 was in Libra, and there was definitely a change in the shifting of power. So, but that's Saturn, Pluto, right? Saturn is the lord of time, the grim reaper. Pluto is the god of the underworld. And so Pluto and Saturn together, especially in Capricorn, can be very scary. And what happened? We got COVID. But the next day, when all that was happening, Ceres was right in the middle of the mix. And on the 13th, she made a conjunction to Pluto. And so this started at 23 degrees of Capricorn. It says a soldier receiving 2 awards for bravery in combat. This was the same degree as the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. The reward offered by society for the fulfillment of individual responsibility. So the more responsible you are, the more you realize that your life is your responsibility, the better this works for you, right? So now here we are, 2 years, 2.5 years later, and we have the opposition between Pluto and Ceres. Now, I want to point out that Pluto just made its second conjunction to the Pluto of the US. So because this is all happening right around the Pluto of the United States, that we're having our first Pluto return, the United States ends up being a big part of this picture, right? And so that's why I'm using charts for the US. I apologize to any viewers who may come from other places, but I'm using the ascendant, I'm using a chart erected for Washington, D.C. to see how this is going to work out. And we can see here that we have Pluto opposite Ceres. So they are as far apart as they are. So this is, in a way, enemies, to a certain extent, enemies, right? Frenemies, maybe they were, they had a good relationship before Pluto stole her daughter away. And what they ended up doing is Persephone spent 6 months with her mother and 6 months with her husband. And she went in to the underworld as a child, and she came out as a queen. So there's a lesson in that very often we come into our power through our exposure to the shadow or what lies beneath. And understanding that, when you're a young girl, you don't understand your power. You don't understand that you even have power. And that's why a lot of people who like power over dynamics will choose young girls, because it's sort of the ultimate power. And it's also the power of procreation, right? And we know what these old men think about that, right? On Monday, July 18th, we have Mercury opposing Pluto at 28 degrees of Cancer Capricorn. This is the halfway point of another synodic cycle. And we have actually 3 synodic cycles to Pluto coming to this halfway point. The first one is the Pluto Ceres Then we have Mercury, Pluto today. Today is Monday, actually. And tomorrow, Tuesday, we have, I think it's tomorrow, Tuesday. Well, it's in here. So we have the Sun, Pluto. And so all these seeds planted, the Ceres Pluto seed planted in 2020, and the Pluto Mercury seed planted on 3 times, because Mercury had a retrograde period while it was in Capricorn. So Mercury actually started the synodic cycle 3 times, 3 times a charm, right? The first one occurred on December 30th of 2021. That's a 4711 vibration. That is the 7 of Cups, incidentally. That happened at 26 degrees of Capricorn. The second one occurred on January 28th of 2022. That's a 25-7 vibration. That is the Knight of Wands, and that occurred at 27 degrees of Capricorn. And then on February 11th, the third one occurred at 28 degrees of Capricorn, and that occurred on the vibration of 16-7, which is the Tower. So we have the 7 of Cups, delusion, the Knight of Cups, the Knight of Wands, the inspired knight, the knight going out to have experience and to proselytize, perhaps. And then we have the Tower on February 3rd. So those were the energies that sort of planted the seed for what comes to fruition at this point, right? In the year 26, 27, 28 degrees of Capricorn on the United States Pluto, and within a degree or two of the United States Pluto. So a powerful time. And of course, we know, being in America, for those of us who are in America, know just how interesting things have been, quite frankly. So now the opposition shows what was planted at that time. Now it is time to take the results and share it among the outer world, putting your deep ideas into the public, right? Out into the public. It does not guarantee that everyone will agree with you, as we will all face the gauntlet of public interaction. So we have grown something within ourselves, very personal thing. That first hemicycle from conjunction to opposition is very personal. It's sort of under the covers. And now people are going to come out with all these like ideas that they've been nurturing for 6 months. And now now we have an opportunity to go back and forth, to listen to each other, to talk to each other, in some cases to yell at each other, I imagine. But there are ideas out there that can help us to, if we learn how to cooperate, because the second half of the hemicycle has to do with cooperation. If we can cooperate with others, then we can actually bring something useful to the world. On Tuesday, the 19th, we have Mercury, the planet of the mind, move out of Cancer. So in Cancer, it was very emotional. It was ruled by the moon. So every 2.5 days, your mind would change, or it may be, you might have even felt a tad fickle or overly emotional. Now it's in Leo. Now Leo knows what Leo knows, and Leo's not afraid to say it, right? So we can see people are going to be more likely to speak up at this time. So we have the 1 degree of Leo is blood rushes to a man's head as his vital energies are mobilized under the spur of ambition. The eruption of biophysical energies into the ego-controlled field of consciousness. So Leo is the pinnacle of ego. And so this is, what do you want? This is what I will. I will do this. I will do that. I will rule. I will rule the realm. You know, that's all Leo stuff, right? The sun, however, the ruler of Leo, is still in Cancer. So while we have this sort of, you know, my way or the highway, perhaps I'm the king of all my domain, it's influenced by the energy of Cancer, which is about family and security and safety and nurturing and taking care of what needs to be taken care of, taking care of the women and children, right? That's at 27 degrees of Cancer. And the Sabian symbol for 27 degrees of Cancer is a violent storm in a canyon filled with expensive homes, the confrontation with a social upheaval, demanding the reconsideration of static values. And the key word here is catharsis. One of the things that we've all been going through since the North Node has moved into Taurus is we've had to come to terms with what is essential in our lives. What do we really, really need? And as an acquisitional society, at least here in the United States, a lot of times we feel better if we buy ourselves a nice little trinket or a nice dress or a nice pair of boots or whatever it is. But do we really need that? And when Pluto is, I mean, when the North Node is in Capricorn, Taurus, and Uranus is in Taurus, money is very it's like this, right? It's like this. Even the um, the stock market, right, is doing this thing. Now, the stock market is in part a Taurus thing, but it's also a Leo thing. So here we go. We got both those sort of energies here, but there is a violent storm, and it's not just going to affect those people who normally get affected by violent storms. You know, the people who live in shacks next to the water, but also in these canyons where these beautiful houses are, where people think they're immune to it, but they're not, especially with climate, right? Especially with climate. On the 19th, we also have the sun making an opposition to Pluto, right? I said that there are 3 synodic cycles that come to their halfway point. This is the third one. This is the sun and Pluto. The sun made a conjunction to Pluto back on the 16th of January. That was actually a 13-4 vibration that day, which is the death card. So it has to be with a transformation, right? A transformation. This is the fruition of seeds planted when the sun conjoined Pluto, and that occurred at 27 degrees of Capricorn, and 27 degrees of violent storm in a canyon filled with expensive homes. There's that symbol again. So if you think that you're off the hook because you're rich, you're wrong. You're wrong. Now, the sun is at 28 degrees of Cancer, and Pluto is at 28 degrees of Cancer, and Pluto is at 28 degrees of Capricorn. Awareness, perhaps, of the nature of the storm that is brewing. And we can see here in this particular chart, we have an Aquarius rising. We have Pluto in the 12th house. You know, the 12th house can be hidden enemies. It can be things that we don't see. So this is, perhaps people pulling the strings. So we need to be aware of that. Maybe ne'er-do-wells or people who can't put their intentions out there, right? They have to do it in hiding. So that's always a little bit suspect. Opposing the sun in Cancer in that 6th house. The 6th house is our everyday normal, what we do, right? Our mundane tasks, our ability to work and support ourselves and help ourselves. And this is also health. So because we have a Ceres Pluto opposition, close to this Pluto Sun opposition and Pluto Mercury opposition, we have to kind of connect it to what happened in 2020 and with COVID. And so something may become aware, or may become aware of something we weren't aware of before through this process. But we will see. We will see. Okay, next. So how does this Sun-Pluto opposition and conjunction affect the chart of the United States? I'm using the Sibley chart, that's the Sag rising chart. And we can see here that the Sun and Pluto conjoined very close to the Pluto of the United States. And as it makes its opposition, it's right on the Pluto of the United States. We can look at other things that are happening in this chart as well. We have a couple of interesting things. Here's Chiron at 8 degrees, 47 minutes of Aries. That happened. That's where it was in January when these 2 planets came together. And now we have Jupiter right around that degree 6 months later. Now, Jupiter is about ready to turn retrograde. It's going to turn retrograde next week and move backwards. So where Chiron was, now Jupiter is there. And what Jupiter does is Jupiter brings understanding, and we can have a greater understanding of the wounds and the wounds that are necessary. And Chiron in Aries is the wound of the rights to your own body. And certainly people who didn't want to get vaccines felt like they didn't want to be, for whatever reason, whether they were real reasons or whether they were imagined reasons, or whether it was based on disinformation, or in some cases based on real information. Not everybody is able to get vaccines without being injured themselves. So it's not like everybody was crazy, but you had to be careful, and you probably know that about yourself if you have any kind of issues with your immune system, especially hypervigilant immune systems, right? So these vaccines can, in some cases, cause problems, but for most people, they're relatively safe. I mean, what's really safe? Can't walk out the door without a meteor falling on your head. So if you're just trying to be safe all the time, chances are it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You have to be smart, but you can't be afraid, because what you put out, you get back. So if you're afraid, you're going to have a million reasons to be afraid, right? So anyway, but we can see this Chiron in Aries expressing itself, right? And also Chiron in Aries, Roe versus Wade was having its Chiron return when it was overturned. So Roe versus Wade has a Chiron in Aries, 1973, 72, I think, 72. So we have all these issues about life and death, right? And who has the right to say, who has the right to tell you what to do? And it's interesting that, one side of the aisle is, pressing us. I'm not wearing a mask, and I'm not doing this, and I'm not doing that. But I'm going to tell you that if you get raped or incested, you have to have the baby, even if you're 10 years old, right? Just one second. Okay, Michael's bringing me up my lunch. So we can see, the other thing is that we do have the Mercury. The United States just had its Mercury return not too long ago. Mercury is approaching that North Node in Leo. We have, again, as I said, we had Chiron. Where are we here? We had Chiron here at 8 something. Now we have Jupiter there at 8 something. And so I think we maybe understand our issues a little bit better than we have in the past, or certainly at the beginning of this craziness that we're experiencing now. We also have to look at the fact that Chiron in the sky is actually opposite Saturn. That's also an indication here as well, but it's past exactitude here. If Chiron will go retrograde, so we'll go over that point of opposition to Saturn in that 10th house. That's the questioning of authority, especially the authority of the government and legal authority, right? So we can see that there as well. Let's see if there's anything else. We have Venus getting closer to Venus here. In fact, we do have a Venus return. I think that's the next thing that we're going to look at. And just as a just to see here, we do have, let's see, we had Uranus at, looks like 10 degrees. I'm not sure if that, yeah, that's about 10 degrees. It's at 15. It's so small, I can't really read it. I apologize. You can probably see it better than I think it's 10 degrees. And now we have Mars close by, right? We have Mars approaching Uranus here, and we have Uranus approaching the North Node. So a lot of what is coming to fruition, a lot of what's being exposed, a lot of what we're becoming aware of is going to really be fodder for that North Node Mars Uranus conjunction that's happening at the beginning of August. So things are not settling down, folks. They are not settling down. On Thursday, the 20th, this is the day that they're going to be doing the January 6th commission. It's scheduled for Thursday, the 20th, I believe, 2022. This is the last quarter moon. Last quarter moon is always a crisis in consciousness. It is part of the lunation cycle. The lunation cycle is a month long. And so, and it starts with that new moon. And we had that new moon in Cancer on the 28th of June. It was very powerful. There was a yod, there was a hammer of Thor, there was a grand trine, there was a couple of kites formations in that, and there was also T-squares. So it was a highly energized and active new moon. And we had, just before that new moon, we had Cassidy Hutchinson, right, speak. And it was like, oh, she's speaking, all right, let's get her in there, right? Like it was a surprise. It was like a surprise thing for us. So the timing of this, I think, couldn't be more perfect. Okay. And so we're going to see with this, we're going to see an illumination, right? We're going to see illumination around power and hidden things and enemies and hidden enemies, and maybe even some information about possible disruption from outside sources. Because if you remember General Flynn, he was in cahoots with Turkey, and Erdogan is the president. I think it's the president of Turkey, is an authoritarian. Like he has a lot of people in jail. Like democracy is not his friend, and he holds a lot of cards because he does have the largest army next to the United States in NATO. So there's a lot of stuff going on, with this and with the petrochemical companies right now. It's like, oh, Manchin's like, oh, we're not going to do any kind of Green New Deal. We're going to not work where we have inflation. We have inflation because of them. Honestly, oh God, if people would just open their minds and see what's going on. Free your mind and the rest will follow. Yeah. Anyway, this last quarter moon, which is an energetic in itself, of course, at 28 degrees of Aries, is like right in between the sun Pluto opposition, the Mercury Pluto opposition, the Ceres Pluto opposition. There's that moon sitting right there, 27 degrees. And I don't have it in this chart, but that's right around the degree of Eris. Eris is at, I think, like 25 or 26 degrees of Aries right now. And Eris is the goddess of discord. And this is, the moon is the feminine. The moon is the feminine, and clothed in her warrior princess garb. So a lot of stuff happening. The 8 degrees of Cancer, where this new moon started, and this is the 3/4 mark of that new moon. A group of rabbits dressed in human clothes walk as if on parade. The keyword is the learning process. It speaks of learning from higher, more highly evolved people or more highly evolved species. This can be an opportunity for us to connect with our starseed selves, right? This is an opportunity for us to connect with the unseen to a certain extent, or for some people, they see it and they hear it in their head. They're not crazy. They're actually getting communicated by higher vibrational frequencies. And so that is the way out. You can't solve a problem on the same level as the problem. You must look to a level above. And that level above are our guides and our ascendant masters and the angels, whatever you want to call it, your higher self, Shiva, whatever you want to call it, God, Jesus, the Savior, the Redeemer, whatever it is, it's all part of us. It's not separate from us. It is a part of our existence, and we can connect to it. We have a Venus return happening on the same day. as the last quarter moon. And I put the Sabian symbol for Venus on the United States chart. Venus, we have Venus at 3 degrees. Let's see, what is it? It's 3 degrees. Hold on. Where are you? 3 degrees, 6 minutes, right? That's the United States Sibley chart, Venus. Venus return, we have solar returns, we have Venus returns, we have Mercury returns, we have Saturn returns, we have Pluto returns, right? We're in a Pluto return cycle now. And Venus is a year-long cycle, generally a little longer, a little shorter sometimes, depending on whether Venus is retrograde in that period. And the Sabian symbol for 4 degrees of Cancer, Venus, is a cat arguing with a mouse, an attempt at self-justification. And I put Tom and Jerry there. Interestingly enough, it was a very popular cartoon, when I was growing up. Tom and Jerry was on all the time, and we'd watch it. It was a great cartoon. The mouse and the cat running after each other. And then eventually I think they would always like agree to disagree or realize they were on, different parts, and then they would continue the back and forth, very democratic in its way. But you can see that Tom has a club and Jerry has a bomb. Tom is the cat, right? Yeah. Should know that. So it's like, yeah, let's agree, but you're hiding some things here. So I just thought that was kind of a funny image. But I want to point out that the Venus return actually has a Libra ascendant, which means that the Venus return chart is a Venus rule chart. And we do have Venus making a square to Jupiter in this chart. We have Venus making a trine to the ascendant of this chart. And we have, let's see, Venus is also, I think that's it. Oh, Venus is sesquiquadrate the south node of the moon. So it's under some stress. The south node of the moon, relationships from the past, controlling relationships of the past. I mean, this just hollers to me Roe versus Wade, and the need to act on this and do what we need to do to get it codified into law. And unfortunately, or fortunately, what we have to do is we have to vote for Democrats. We just hope that they're actually going to do something this time, right? They're not just going to like let Manchin get away with all this crap, right? I'm sorry, it's very frustrating. We also see that in this, Venus return, we also have the Pluto. It's like a Venus-Pluto return, right? In a way. All right, so let's see what else is going on here. Friday the 22nd, we have the sun ingress into Leo. Of course, the sun is the ruling planet of Leo, so it's Leo, 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 Leo. And we have that symbol of that first degree of Leo, the man with his blood rushing to his head, energy for the ego consciousness here. And we can see that the vibration of that day is a 35-8 vibration, which in the tarot is the 9 of Wands. So it's about a couple more battles. It's about healthy boundaries, right? It's about sort of being wounded in battle, but still being able to battle on. And a lot of that comes through the experience of previous battles. So one of the things that this says to me is that don't make the same mistake again. Learn from your mistakes or learn from your experience and do it in a different way. And we have a lot of inspiration to do things in a different way. Remember, we're looking to higher vibrational sources for the answers here, as well as practical application of things that we know work. So things that we know work. Things that don't work, do it in a different way, perhaps being inspired by spirit and source. So it's in the sign of its rulership. It's a very powerful time, always powerful. The dog days of summer, when we see the rising of the star Sirius. Very powerful time, the beginning of the Lion's Gate, which peaks at, I believe, the 8th of August, 8/8, which is going to be one of my portal readings. I'll be doing a portal reading on 8/8. You can stay posted for that. We have the sun in a close conjunction to Mercury. So that counts. The ascendant for this chart for the United States is Sagittarius at 00011 Sagittarius. So it is a very powerful and tight trine. And Sag is always and with a Sag rising chart, we have to look to Jupiter, and of course Jupiter at 8 degrees of Aries, and pretty much standing still because it's about to go retrograde next week. Is trine the Sun and is trine this Mercury, and we're going to talk about that Mercury Jupiter trine because on Saturday it's exact. It occurs at 9 degrees of Leo Aries, Mercury at 9 of Leo, and of course Jupiter at 9 of Aries. This is a creative, self-expressive trine. The vibration for that day is a 36-9. 9 is healing. 9 is reaping. 9 is the highest and the lowest. And in the tarot, it is the 9 of Wands, which is known as the burden bearer. It's time to unburden yourself, reorganize yourself, and keep what is most important when you move on from this day and from this moment. So we have a trine, which is a creative, self-expressive trine. This was based on the seeds planted when these two planets were conjoined, and they conjoined at 19 degrees of Pisces. This is when Jupiter was still in Pisces. And so 19 degrees of Pisces, a master instructing his disciples. The transfer of power and knowledge what keeps the original spiritual and creative impulse of the cycle active and undeviated. So there are ways of working with the energies. There are ways, but you must be very disciplined. You cannot, we want to be free, but if you're not willing to do the work, the hard work and the responsibility it takes to have freedom, then you can't have freedom. It's not real freedom. It's just chaos. So we have seen 4 years of chaos by somebody who, throws all this change at us, but takes no responsibility for it. Right? Well, as you sow, so shall you reap, folks. So if we look at Mercury at 9 degrees of Leo, we have 3 old masters hanging on the wall of a special room in an art gallery. The keynote is the need to return to source during a confused search for new values in a chaotic society. And then we look at Jupiter at 9 degrees of Aries, and we have a crystal gazer. Interestingly enough, these are two pretty dissimilar symbols, right? In their way. We have, although the old masters could very well have used crystal gazing, it depends on who your masters are, right? The keynote here is the development of an inner realization of organic wholeness. So this is a balance between knowing what works, right, and also utilizing your intuitive facility. It's a balance between that. And Mercury is the planet of what works to a certain extent. The facts, ma'am, and what we go by, how we sort of structured our minds, right? And then Jupiter being a planet associated with the more creative, intuitive right brain. So there needs to be a balance between those things. And the trine is powerful, but it can be ignored because it doesn't make you change. It just gives you the opportunity and the energy to make big shifts, but you have to access it. You can't just expect to sit back and have it happen to you. That's not the way trines work. Trines are there for us to utilize if we know that they're there. And I'm telling you that they're there. And let me just see here as far as, is there anything Thank you. I'll take that. Thank you. Okay. Okay. So, interesting times we're living in, no? All right. And next week, we'll do the wrap up for July. It promises to be a doozy. We have a new moon in Leo. We have Jupiter changing direction in Aries, going back to, it's going to go back to Pisces for a little while and then go into Aries beginning of next year, I think. And then it's going to shoot through Aries pretty quickly. And then it goes into Taurus. So, yes. All right, guys. So we have quite the week ahead of us. Let me stop my share. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. If you would like to have a reading with me, you can contact me on my website, theseedoftransformation.com. I'll put a link in the descriptor. I am going to be having a beginner's astrology class. I have not decided on the dates yet. So if you like the way I do astrology, I will be having a beginner's class. I'm also having a continuation of my Kabbalah class. Those dates will come out shortly, and I always have my Tuesday evening astrology salon. As long as you have a basic knowledge of astrology, you can join us. We talk about all kinds of things, current events, or subjects. Somebody may say, "Hey, can you go over squares today?" And I'll say, "Sure." So whatever we agree upon to do, we do. But it's always fun, and the people in that group are amazing. All right, guys, have yourself a great week. Please be careful out there. Again, I'll say be aware and take care. A lot of revelations coming up this week, so keep your eyes and your third eye open. Keep your ears and your inner ear open. Keep your heart open, and light will shield you. So if you're feeling insecure, if you're feeling like you're in danger, don't get caught up in the fear. Fill yourself up with the light. Shine your light. People only see the light, and so you can't be a target. Actually. All right, guys, take care. Much love, everyone. Namaste. Love you.